now.
Boom. There, that's our music intro.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that is the end of the Muppets, and then the horn.
Oh man, and it was such a good rendering. They're gonna pull this from YouTube. We're gonna get this one flagged. Damn it!
Yeah, I highly doubt that.
Fastest flag ever.
Oh wow. Anyway, Jimbo Dini's not here to give me my interesting music intro, and always interrupts me during my intro. Welcome to Arcade Hangout number 141. Only 3 weeks, I believe, until our Grinkers event happening in Eagle, Idaho, in October. Is that 12th, 13th? Is that right?
Yeah, Friday 12th, Saturday 13th.
Friday and Saturday, yeah. And today we have a special guest with us. His video camera isn't present, but his mic is. And he goes by Nash. Does he go by Nash Villain on Clav? I think he does, right?
I don't think he's on Clav.
Is he on Clav? Oh, okay. Okay, well, we know him as Clint, or you might know him as Clint. And some people I might know him as Clint Torres.
Flashback a few years ago. Yeah.
In the John years. But yes, he's here. We're here to discuss the refereeing that goes behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. He's the main ref from Arcade. And I think he has assistants with him as well that are employees of Steve that he trains to do the scoring and stuff. And I think we're going to ask him questions about the upcoming event and some, I guess, reffing questions and maybe some games that we might want that we can get answers for.
I demand random questions.
Yeah, I'd like to know. I'd like to know certain reasons why certain games aren't available, and because we don't always know the answers, but Clint does. So.
Jimbo might not be on for another hour or something, Carrie.
Yeah, he's doing sports.
Yeah.
Well, I actually thought he'd be here relatively soon, but if he's doing something on Slack, then you know more than I do.
Yeah, his most pressing question was boxers or briefs, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his question. His pressing question.
So which is it, Clint?
Both.
Both. All right. Boxer briefs.
At the same time?
No, regular gold bond or minty.
That's nice.
Well, I only have tea, so I don't.
Those
I don't
extremely long hours of score taking in the sweaty arcades.
Oh man! So does anybody want to start?
Every 37 seconds for 20 hours.
Wow, that's pretty good.
So do we want to go around the room and ask them questions, or how do we want to do this?
Yeah, why not?
It's a fire away kind of thing. This is a conversation.
All right, I'll start. Okay. Clint, when was your first arcade score tournament where you were a referee? Like what year and what was the event?
It was not all that long ago. It was actually what is now called BroFest. Wait, I take that back. No,
we did
scratch
that before that.
Yes, it was Drinkfest 1.
That was your first time?
Wow.
That was my very first tournament where I was the head referee of an arcade tournament. Now, at Fun Spot, because that's the only other tournaments I've done is Fun Spot and Grinkers. But I was at Fun Spot for 3 years as a player. But the very first time that I actually stood in line to put in the entry to stand in line to register for the Fun Spot tournament, I'm standing in line and Robbie Lakeman comes up to me and says, "Hey, you're an arcade referee. Can I borrow you for an hour?"
Oh wow!
So what year was that?
I think I was not quite 40 at the time, so I think that would have been 2011.
Okay.
Would have been.
So that's the answer then. Basically, 7 years ago was your first time.
Yeah, 7 years ago, and Robbie Lakeman pulls me over to Cheeky Mouse and proceeds to get the world record on it with me as the witness. And I proceed to I proceed to take his picture and say, hey, this is his accomplishment. And a few months later, Twin Galaxies reaches out to Robbie Lakeman because they want to put him on a trading card, on a Twin Galaxies trading card, and they used my same picture. The picture on the Robbie Lakeman's picture on the Twin Galaxies trading card is the picture that I took of him when he got the world record on Cheeky Mouse.
Yeah,
so that was my first recording score, and I did that. But as a chief referee, it was Grinkfest 1.
Okay.
That's the more you know sound effect.
Yes.
We'll fix that in post.
And knowing is half the battle.
Yes, there you go.
Nicely done.
Yeah, because Johnny, Jacobson, he, spoke highly of you from the get-go. That the refereeing you did at Fun Spot, which was probably at least a couple of years before the first Grink Fest.
Well, first Grinkers was what, 2012?
13, I think.
Grink Fest 6 this year.
This would be Grink
Yes.
Fest. This would be Grink Fest 6.
Yeah,
So
2013
14,
was the
15,
first year.
16, 18, 13.
Yep, 2013.
Yeah,
So pretty
was
much 5 years ago was number 1, and then we're about to go on to the 6th one. Yep.
So I was a participant in 3 Fun Spot tournaments before taking the Grinkfest gig.
Okay. Cool.
And you're from Nashville, we're guessing.
Yes, good guess.
That was my question.
It is the screen name is pronounced Nashvillan,
Which is pretty brilliant.
and well, I can't take full credit for it. It is I actually got it from an old commercial, and I'm not going to go into the history, the detailed history of it, but I saw it on a local news commercial, and they used that name, and I thought, I like that. I want to use that.
All right,
Nobody else had it, so sure, why not?
What was the product?
It was a pitch for the local news.
Oh, I see. Cool.
Yeah, and now your mic is cutting out.
Is it? Am I breaking up for everyone?
Maybe a little bit. Not bad.
No, it's all right.
Okay.
So, Clint, is there a certain requirement or how many times did you assistant ref before you became a ref? So you said you became the head. You could become a head ref.
Yeah, I was as a participant at the Fun Spot tournament. I would still participate in the tournament, but every now and then I would step away to give David Hernley, who is the founder of Orcade. I would step aside to kind of help him out and give him a hand a little bit. Like if somebody was trying to do a marathon run on Galaga, or if somebody was trying to do a world record on Strategy X, or Space Invaders or something like that, I would have to step away from the tournament to go help them out. So I did that.
Got it. Okay. I wasn't certain what non-head ref duties entailed, so and how many there might be.
I swear there must be something in the water around Fun Spot. Seems like that's the highest concentration of high score people on the planet is around Fun Spot.
Right.
Is it just because they never closed? It's been an ongoing arcade since the 70s or whatever.
Well, Fun Spot around a whole lot longer than that, but
I'm just saying, like, kind of the arcade games that we would be familiar with.
Yeah,
from
well, the
70s
arcade museum. The arcade museum is from the mid 1990s, when that museum was founded.
So, what's the current status of arcade right now? I know that there was some stuff with the Galloping Ghosts and that whole thing. So
I think sometime last year, David Hernley, the founder, turned over the reins to Doc Mack, and Doc Mack, if you don't know, is the owner of Galloping Ghost. So he has control of the Arcade site, and he's been supposedly revamping the site, or he's in the process of revamping the site to include new functionality, new features, and new accessibility options. I'm still waiting on that. I have no input on that. I haven't even been to Galloping Ghost yet. I want to go someday. But I have not heard of any updates or details on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward
Still
to
very
the
active.
future where you
Still active on the forum. I'm actually going to be busy on the website, inputting all of Steve at Grinkers his brand new arcade machines, which have never been seen. Which have never been seen anywhere else. So he's got a lot of unique machines that have come in with.
Yeah, I don't even think. I think only you, me, and Andrew saw that email, but he just added maybe half a dozen new games that he's hoping to have on the floor when we get there, and their games, most of them I don't think I ever heard of. So
yes, I've never heard of.
I won't say the game. I don't know if they're on there or not.
Yeah, there are games I've never heard of either, and I think I'm going to have to go back into the database and add some additional games, which was my original duty when I first joined Arcade in 2008. My responsibilities was just on the Arcade database.
Okay.
So I was adding locations, I was adding games, I was building the database of places you could go to find an arcade and what kind of games. Like, I'm looking for a specific game. Where can I find this? And you could just look up by game. You could look up by location. And it was sweet. And I was responsible for it. I was in control of that.
Cool.
And I would post forums and say, hey, a new game in. Or there's a brand new game added to the database. Have you heard of it? You want to look for it? It's a great game. You should play it.
Sweet. All right. Anybody? Mock, you probably got some questions, huh?
Yeah.
Let's get back to wait. What about the gold bond boy?
Here we go.
The gold bond question? Yeah.
I don't think we got an answer.
My first question?
Yeah, your first question.
That's the first line of defense.
Original gold bond or what's the other one?
Menthol order.
Menthol.
Yeah. The Frosty the Snowman one.
Yeah, I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
Cool for your pleasure.
I had no idea about this, by the way. This is one of the many things that this show and the arcade games has brought into my life, is a knowledge of what Gold Bond really is. Just can count my blessings every day.
It's like eating a Mentos candy, but on your huevos.
Keeps everything dry and cool down there.
It's kind of like eating a York peppermint patty in your balls.
Oh, boy.
It's like a popsicle enema.
It's very cool and refreshing.
The fresh maker.
Yes.
And the banter kicks in.
I haven't even started drinking yet.
That's probably a high score for us. 15 minutes in, and we're already getting to below the belt.
Yeah.
On a good night, that's where it starts. I do have an arcade question. Or sorry, did you have one?
No, go ahead, Carrie. I'll go after you.
So what's the longest that you've had to stand there and watch a game being played for when someone's going for a world record?
Not very long. It's always actually the longest would have to be
Eyes.
Eyes.
Wow. Oh damn.
And how many times did you sit through that one?
Well, it was he had to abandon the game and start over, and I stayed with it. So, if you recall from 2016 at CAX, he fell short of the world record and had to shake it off and shrug it off and start over. And if I recall right, I was not alone in standing/sitting. I believe you yourself, Carrie, were very much also keeping track of the number of times that he was rolling over 1 million points on that.
That's right. I had the app just in case you suffered some sort of ill health thing. If you like a heart attack hit you, I was ready to, then Jimbo could just keep going and I could keep counting while someone else called 911.
How long was that game? That was like a 2-hour game or something, wasn't it? Or more? I don't remember.
Each game was probably at least a 2-hour game, but he did it twice, and we had already finished the CAX tournament after that.
Right.
So I had already been on my feet the entire day for 8 or 9 hours.
Brutal.
Oh well, the things we do to get a Guinness World Record. Nobody ever said it was going to be easy.
There you go.
But yes, so he got the world record. We got his picture, and that's what mattered.
And you got ice cream. You did get. Hey, crotch shop number 2. Thank you, Dave.
Yay!
Yay! And you got ice cream out of the deal.
Yes, I did. And
keep you going.
I think I bought that ice cream.
Sugar.
I was like, oh my God, this poor man.
There's another one.
Can't find my window. There we go. Clint, what is your game? Like you said, you used to play. Like everyone has like their game. Like, what do you think you were the best at, or either the best at or you like the most playing in the tournaments?
I've played a lot of different arcade games over the years. There are games that I've gotten very good at, or so I thought I was good at. I thought I was good at Gyrus with my 668,000 points, and here
that's good.
Well, and then I go to Atlanta to watch somebody break the arcade world record with several million points on it. I've gotten very good at UN Squadron. I could beat the entire game on a single credit.
Wow.
I got very good at a couple of the Neo Geo games, like the original Sengoku. I beat that on 1 credit. I beat Cyberlit on 1 credit. My very first point pressing was Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja, and I could beat that game. I could beat that game on 1 credit, but I decided, let me try and point press it. And for the first time ever, I was able to get 1 million points on that game before facing the final boss. And I've only done that 1 time ever.
Wow.
And the final boss alone is worth 400,000 points.
And once you beat the final boss, and it's game over.
The biggest accomplishment.
Yeah, you have a hamburger with the president or something.
Right.
Yeah, let's go out for a burger.
Yeah.
That's the one.
That Ronald Reagan.
With
Yeah.
Ronnie, yeah.
Yeah.
Was Ronald, my fellow Americans, yes.
That was pretty
Holy
good.
shit, that was great.
That was really good. I had to think for a minute who that was doing that. That was
Right. He's back from the dead.
I thought it was one of Tim's sound bites.
Yeah,
Right.
we don't do a lot of impressions on this show. That was solid.
Was that the first?
Yeah.
Well, the first that's legit. The other one, we may have tried to do them, but
Well, I mean, prior to us going live, I was mimicking a McDonald's pickup window as we were trying to figure out my microphone settings.
spent a lot of time in those windows.
What, tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
This morning was Burger King. Don't even say. I'm gonna die. And then for dinner, I had a 7-Eleven hot dog, a pretzel, and a double big gulp just to see how big it was. But I didn't.
Oh, Jesus.
You are the caricature of a cop.
Uh-huh. All right, so I have a non-arcade question.
Oh, yeah.
Because, all right, so obviously, I'm sure that your number one dream when you were a child, Clint, was to grow up and become an arcade ref. But other than that dream, which you probably thought you'd never be able to achieve, what did you want to do when you grew up, when you were little?
Oh, I don't know. It was as
you had no dreams. You must have had a dream.
Oh well, I did have. I was always good in theater as a kid. Going to school, being in school plays and stuff like that. And I guess I did get to relive that childhood dream in more recent years when I became an extra on the show Nashville. And I think we've already covered that in previous.
Yeah, I've seen. I recall seeing some pictures
in previous broadcasts. We've seen that, and yeah, I've posted the occasional picture here and there of it. Still don't know if I made it into the series finale or not. I did attend a taping, but I didn't get a chance to see that show, and my cable provider wants me to cough up more money for me to see it. And I'm like, no, thanks. But I've also been in a couple of movies. And so I've lived out that. So I've lived out the childhood dream of being in movies and being on TV. I think that was my childhood dream, is to do, be an actor or do that. So I've accomplished that. I'm doing that.
You
I did also have a dream as a I can check off list. And I did have a dream of owning an arcade cabinet, which still eludes me to this day. I do not own a single cabinet, although I did have an opportunity to pick one up a few years ago and had to pass on it because I don't have any physical logistical space to put it anywhere. I don't own a basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what if you had one game and one, Santa brought you one game and enough room to put it in the corner. What would that game be? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A little tiny garage. What would your one game be?
I'll answer that by saying my Holy Grail game. My Holy Grail game, which I've mentioned on this broadcast before, is the Sega 1993 two-player sit-down cabinet. You can currently find one at Galloping Ghost. It's rumored that there's only about 12 known to exist in North America.
I have no idea. I'm stumped on that one.
It's I played it in Hermitage. Absolutely loved it.
But what's the name of the game?
And it's Star Wars.
A Sega Star Wars.
It's Star Wars, made by Sega in 1993. And
is that the one
game
that
itself,
has like a blue padded seat, maybe, that you sit on?
Two-seater.
Okay.
It's the cabinet is gray in color, and it's a two-seater. You can either play by yourself and pilot the X-wing, or you could have two players playing together, piloting a Y-wing. One person would pilot a Y-wing and shoot in the center of the screen, and player two would have a gunner that could shoot anywhere on the screen without the control of the flight stick. They would have no control of the flight control. It was one of the first games that featured the hyperspace sound effects and graphics, where it actually made it look like that you could enter hyperspace. And it was one of the first arcade machines to do that. I absolutely loved that. It was not a very long game. It's actually relatively easy to beat. That same game can be found ported onto a home console, a Sega Genesis 32X. So you can find it. It's the exact same game on the Sega 32X. Now, some people are finding these at Dave & Buster's all the time, but that is the 1997 Sega Star Wars trilogy, which is not the same game.
Okay. Yeah, Jacklick posted a link on KLV to the game. But yeah, I'm not sure if I've seen one in person before. I was not spending much time in arcades during those years, the mid '90s.
Yeah, you could find a clip of me beating the game on the Orcade Facebook page. If you go to the Orcade Facebook page and you go into videos, I'm holding up the digital camera on the screen, and there's a picture of me with the closing credits beating the game.
Nice.
Is the screen share? Or sorry, I didn't present myself, did I?
Yeah, when you talk with
sharing. Oh yeah, hold on 1 second. Fuck.
Yeah, that's right. Star Wars Arcade.
Yep. Let me present.
Uh-oh.
All right, I know, crazy.
Infinity.
Oh my god.
We're in hyperspace.
I'm gonna break the internet. All right. Yeah. Is that working?
Fail.
Yeah.
Yep, I see it. Yeah, that's the cabinet. That's a picture of it.
God, that's a big ass rear projection.
It's a big rear projection with a 2-seater. One says pilot, the other says gunner. And you have joystick controls on the one on the right.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't
I guess they both have
to keep.
like a flight stick.
Okay,
You had the pilot also had throttle options. You can speed up or slow down.
There's a Star Wars control panel image there, Andrew, underneath the machine. Click on the blue there.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Oh yeah, so the pilot's on the right, and gunner's on the left.
Pilot is on the right.
Yeah, makes sense because if the throttle.
The gunner's on the left.
And
the throttle control gives it away.
Yeah, sorry. And the gunner control is just the stick. There's none of the buttons over here do anything, right?
No.
I've played it before. The pilot can shoot, but the pilot can only shoot at the center of the screen. So if you want to try and hit a TIE fighter, you have to fly the ship into the crosshairs to be able to shoot. The gunner can shoot anywhere on the screen without committing the ship to fly anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Sort of a turret.
So it's a crosshairs that show up on the screen. So when you move the flight stick, you can see the crosshairs on the screen, and so you can just move it around.
It's a trap.
Yep.
Evolution X.
Cool.
Oh yes, and you see a picture of Admiral Akbar on the control panel, and yes, he does have poor audio. It doesn't sound like him at all, and he doesn't say it's a trap anywhere.
Is it in Japanese? Or is this just a screenshot because it's in Japanese?
That's probably one of the most used memes from Star Wars, right? It's a trap.
And the only reason why Akbar is famous.
Yeah. So, if you feel like it, tell us a couple of crazy stories you've experienced refereeing people, like, people sandbagging a game, or finding a glitch that caused them to win a tournament, or
massive BO.
Exploiting stuff, or massive BO that makes everybody clear out away from them. Yeah.
There have been there was a Fun Spot tournament that I was a part of where one of the games in the tournament, one of the selections was a turned out it had a continue feature built in to the game, and they thought they had disabled it. And they did not disable it, and they could not disable it. So after one day, the game had to be pulled from the tournament. This was Joust 2, Survival of the Fittest.
Ah, interesting. So they just kept dropping quarters in, getting higher scores.
Yes. Well, not only that, but it also had a selectable start feature, so they could warp to a much more difficult stage, and if they could clear the stage, then they get the warp bonus. And that wasn't fair, especially with the continue feature still being in play.
And people are actually exploiting that?
They were exploiting that.
Sucks.
Right now, right?
You know what?
So what ended up happening is that the game ended up getting pulled from the tournament lineup, and it got replaced with Pack and Pow. And this was a brand new, and I think there's only like 2 or 3 in North America, maybe that many worldwide, but it was but Pack and Pow was very glitchy in itself, in that you could put a quarter in and it would not credit up, and you could just press a button and nothing would happen. So periodically you would have to power cycle the machine just to get it to work, and that was a hassle.
Yeah, I bet.
But everyone would be excited and say, "Oh, Pack and Pal is available," because there'd be no line for it. And then they walk up to the machine, pop a token in, and nothing happens. They go, "Oh, that's why there's no line." That same tournament, Kickman was in the tournament, and Jason Cram and Donald Hayes kill screened Kickman.
How long does that take to get to that point?
I have no idea, but but third place was at around 200,000, and second and first place were at around 3.6 and 3.8 million. Yes, Andrew, I see your expression. So both of them kill screened it, and suddenly nobody wanted to play Kickman anymore because, I can get another few thousand more points and advance my standings by 1,000th of a point because of the percentage. Because nobody wanted to play it anymore because I knew it was pointless.
So that's actually another interesting point that I think we brought up at least at some point in this show, which is the scoring for arcade, and how do you feel about that being good for a competitive tournament kind of environment? I know that GAC, you and Carrie have talked about more like pinball scoring as far as like how places are determined and the percentages.
Yeah, I'm still not 100% sure if this is right, but is it possible, like, let's say the top 2 places, I don't know, maybe top 3 places, it could be all relatively close scores, plus or minus each other, and then a person on one game, let's say a pinball or something, gets a multi-million point score. Does that set like a lot higher percentage for that person in the tournament?
No.
Okay.
Each game is scored individually. Although you have to play all of the games in a tournament to even have a score at all. But the scoring algorithm, if you want to call it that, is that whoever has the top score in a particular game gets 100 tournament points. And you can think of it as 100% of the top score. Whoever has the top score has 100%. Well, if the guy that's in second place has 99% of the top score, they get 99 tournament points. And if third place is reasonably close, then they're going to get a percentage of the top score. So whatever their score is, a percentage how far away. So if they're close, they're rewarded for being close. Versus somebody that scores 10 million points in a game, and the guy that's in second place only has 50,000 points, And
the
he's saying,
percentage
hey,
is
it
a
doesn't
lot
matter.
greater.
Yes, well, of course, the percentage is a lot greater, even though they have to be in second place. They're not given second place tournament points. There's no such thing.
Right. It's a grading on a curve.
Yeah.
Right. So whoever gets the top is set for 100%.
Which is why Kickman was such a disaster, because with 2 people kill screening it into the millions, improving your score by a couple thousand points is not going to affect your tournament score at all.
Right.
So everybody stopped playing that game.
So you got to go focus on another game that you can actually potentially push your percentage up higher.
So yeah, if you wanted to boost your percentage on Kickman, you had to spend a long time with good reflexes, because that's a reflex game. That's a dexterity game. You have to spin the trackball really fast, and you have really good timing on that. It's not just a matter of pattern recognition.
Interesting. So, yeah, because what we had talked about, comparing the pinball stuff was the way they do it is it's based on how many people, or at least the tournaments that Carrie and I have been in that are pinball ones. They do it based on the number of people entering. So if you have 30 people doing that tournament, essentially the first place person gets 30 points, the last place person gets 1 point, and then they score it that way throughout whatever all the games are. So it in that case, it doesn't matter what the score is. The first place might have 10 times the score of the second place person.
I participated in a pinball tournament locally that used that similar staggering format, except that they used, we were in groups of 4, and if you got first place, you got 4 points, third place gets 3, last place gets 1.
Right.
And but that's just in your group, so you're only competing against.
Yeah. And the thing I didn't really think about too is with that format, the pinball one, is the ones I've done anyways, you only have one shot at the game. So
yes, I did.
It's out like on what we do at Grinkers, you can just keep resubmitting scores. So yeah, it's hard to say which one.
Well, the arcade format seems
all about going back and improving your score. The arcade tournaments are all about, establishing your score on a leaderboard and then going back and on specific games and trying to improve your score. And then you can go back and look at the leaderboard and say, oh, now I just need a few more points on that game. So then you go over to that game, and then you see that you got overtaken on another game. That's the beauty of the arcade tournament, is being able to is live updates, live tournament updates throughout the entire event.
Right, but if you get like one guy, like in a smaller, like one of our side tournaments, you get like one guy who's like really good at one of those games and kind of so with the other ones, he can basically crush that one tournament, even though overall he has fewer. His placement in the ranking is lower.
Depends on how everybody else did at the 2 games he was average at.
Right.
It could happen, but if one person is wildly dominant in one game, and then you have somebody else that's just good enough, and that got second and third in the other 2 games, and maybe got a top 10 finish on the first game, the person who got the much stronger finishes, more consistent finishes, would actually end up winning that, and not the person who just blew everybody away on a single game.
Well, that's what happened with me. the second year at Grinkfest, because I put up a
Was it a pinball game or what was it?
It was a Taito. So it was Rastan and Alpha P. And both of those games I got first place in, but I got like 9th place at Jungle King.
Right.
just could not. I mean, Kalen was destroying
Just
it.
died, yeah.
I placed, I went 8th or something on 9th, but with the other 2 scores, Rastan in particular, I was way the fuck ahead of everyone.
Yes.
So that gave me the win.
I think I remember that one where I was like, oh, I could probably get, 2nd or 3rd in Rastan. And I like squeaked my score up a little bit. I'm like, oh man, it hardly made a difference. You're right. Because it was like,
yeah, I think on my final score, and it was like 750 or 850, something like that. So it's like, you guys were scoring like 60,000.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'm not even sure anyone else broke 100 that year. But anyway, it's an interesting.
Hey, Clint. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask Clint about certain games that he doesn't allow. I was just wondering what some of the reasons on a couple of them were. Like, I think we talked about Gradius maybe being in the tournament. I was just wondering, is that something that people can marathon? Is that why it's not allowed, or is it what would it be? I think that game ends, doesn't it? Nope.
So I guess this was the week-long elephant in the room here.
And just so you know, Clint, we haven't announced the games.
Right, and we're waiting.
So you're aware. There are no beans are to be spilled at this point.
I'll be generic.
Mm-hmm.
And I will also, I can also mention games that have been in Fun Spot tournaments in the past. That like for example, I was not in control over the decisions of what games were in the Fun Spot tournament. I never was until BroFest came along. So I would have never put Joust 2 Survival of the Fittest. I would have vetoed that all day long because it has a continue feature. And there's a variety of games that we would love to put in more modern games, but they have a continue feature and you can't turn it off.
Oh, gotcha.
That is the biggest pisser. God, there's so many good games you couldn't do because of that.
Yeah. It's like you'd have to have someone, a referee, standing over their shoulder at all times to make sure that no one's being dishonest,
Yeah.
Well, it's just a shame that we have to worry about people being dishonest at a free arcade tournament. Like, do we really, are people really going to cheat?
Right.
And will it really be an issue? I mean, maybe it would really be an issue, people getting up, thinking that the possibility could have happened.
Yeah, as a grown-up, I think we're all responsible adults that we morally know that we're not supposed to cheat like this. However, not all of the participants are adults.
Yeah.
They may be physically adults, but morally,
we do have legitimate, teenagers and even some children. I believe. I believe Orange Whip son has participated.
He's like one of the youngest.
I somehow don't think they improvise, do a thing, and then raise his arm and be like, "Hey, ref, come over and take my score." I mean,
wrapped it and put him in quarters for continues.
Right.
Yeah.
So the most obvious veto is the continue feature that can't be turned off, and you folks have tried to say, well, we just put, and I'm going to mention a game here, Forgotten Worlds, because that was the game.
Yeah, I went to Matt on that
one. And he's like, no, but see, look at this video clip, Clint. There's when you die and you continue, your score resets back to 0. And yes, it's true. When you do continue, you lose your score. But what you don't lose is which is the currency you could spend, and that does not go to 0. That carries over from one game to the next. And yes, and if you beat the final boss on that game, all of your leftover zenny gets turned into points, and I think the ratio is like 100 to 1 or something like that.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's huge.
So your score skyrockets when you beat the final boss, and all of your leftover money gets funneled into your points. UN Squadron does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They use the same score / cash, and any leftover cash gets added to your score.
Yeah, it's not quite the same huge ratio, but it's you still get a huge bonus from it.
It's actually 1-to-1 ratio on UN Squadron.
I'm a huge fan of UN Squadron as well, Clint. I don't know if we ever talked about that, but I'm a 1 credit finisher on that one too.
Nice,
braggers.
Yeah, right.
I love that.
So I'm just gonna throw a couple games out, and I won't talk about the ones that have continues, but like another game that I was just wondering about was Sinistar. That game's so hard. Well, usually it's super hard. That doesn't have continue in it, does it?
You've actually it's a good lead into a second criteria of vetoing a game.
That's my segue.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was
good job.
The segue is that some of the games have known glitches. And Sinistar is one such game that has a known glitch in it. Now, it's not a points glitch, but what it does have is a lives glitch.
I do recall.
So
that
in
one.
the game Sinistar,
isn't that like super hard to pull off?
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, yes, but we have pros that come to our tournaments, and I'm sure there's skilled pros. They know about it, and they could try and do it.
Yeah.
But for those that don't know, this Sinistar has a lives glitch. If you are down to your last life, and a Sinistar eats you, if you actually get eaten by Sinistar, your ship starts spinning out of control for about 2 seconds before it blows up. And in that 2 seconds, if you get hit by a tank turret as you're about to blow up by Sinistar, then your lives counter goes to -1. Well, if it goes to -1, then it rolls over to 255.
Yes, because 256 is the max lives that it'll.
Yes, 256 is the max life. So when it goes to -1, it rolls over to 255. And so now you have 255 lives in Sinistar, and you could go to town.
Oh, phooey. Okay.
All right, though. So I have one that you vetoed for me in the past that has a score glitch, a known score glitch. So and you guys are gonna roll your eyes, but it's 720. So
I don't know the exact scenario on that particular game, but I do seem to remember us talking about it.
Yeah. So I will concede that there is a very difficult to get, though not impossible to get, score glitch on it, which then allows you to basically skate forever in the home park and do as many tricks as you want, and the bees will never kill you. So the timer basically is set to 0. All right, but Paperboy, which has been in our tournaments before, also has a score glitch, which is very, very similar. And you've let that one in.
Uh-oh.
Dun, dun, dun. Where's Jim?
Right.
I seem to recall now is I seem to
For some
remember
reason, I thought on Paperboy that was only like the first rev, and they fixed that on all the later revisions of Paperboy.
Dun, dun, dun.
Gag to it. I seem to remember talking about that was only on certain versions of Paperboy. I'm not as completely knowledgeable on the exact glitch, although I have seen clips of Joe doing it. Senegaglia.
Oh.
He
pulled off the glitch?
He has showed. I think he's fully aware of it, and I think if he had the right revision set, that he could pull off the glitch.
Right.
But he has made it a point to say, "Hey, this glitch exists." I guess at the time that I included it, we included Paperboy in the first Grinkers tournament. That was my very first time as head referee. So I might not have been fully knowledgeable on that particular glitch at that time.
Okay. And I still think, though, that 720 is still worth your consideration, only understanding that, like, if someone is doing the glitch, it's really obvious because the bees are flying after him and they're not killing him. So, like, yes, you could be racking up scores, but it would be very, very obvious if anyone were to even glance at the screen that, like, something is very wrong.
Yes. Yes. And,
and the reason why I think it's 720, and it's not just because I own it and love it and am halfway decent at it, but also because it's a great short game. I mean, for most people who play it,
yes,
it's not a long game. And even if you're good at it, it's not a long game.
Yeah. I would love to put Forgotten Worlds in a tournament.
Yeah.
I would, there's some games there. I have favorites too that I have to beat. It's like, I want to put it in there, but because I actually like the game, but I was like, I have to be the sober, dry professional.
Boo!
Only ice cream for you, mister.
and sub sandwiches.
Yes, that's true.
Steve makes.
You cut out there. You said Steve something.
Yeah, Steve makes the best sub sandwiches.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
I was thinking about them yesterday.
I can't wait. 3 weeks, I'll have one in my mouth.
Mark, I have a sound clip I want to play you. I'm going to send it to you. Oh, I can't wait.
So we all, we say this pretty regularly, but, I feel like we should say it with Nashville in here too, is, Steve's a bang out guy, man. He's awesome for putting on, hosting, allowing other people to come there and party and crazy and drink specials and all that. So it's created a lot of friendships for a lot of us, I think, so yeah.
I want to hug Steve every day.
Right. Yeah.
Can I throw some more games out for
That's right. You got him.
I am interested on the reasons. I find them interesting. The reasons why.
Do Jimbo's reaction. You lose. You get nothing.
I didn't know Sinistar had that glitch. I know Tempest does, but I didn't know Sinistar had that glitch. Okay, how about Crystal Castles? Is that a game you can continue, or is that why that one's out?
No, the next segue.
It's out because it's just gay.
Is that another segue? All right.
Ooh, you're so
that's
I'm not BC. That is a. Sorry.
Now I don't have this. Set in stone. But Crystal Castles, I believe, is one of those games that has a selectable start. But to that point, there have been games that we have put into the tournament in the past that have had a selectable start. Most notably, Black Widow was in the second Grinkers tournament, that one I'm still on the fence on because Black Widow not only has a selectable start, but if somebody gets very far in the game, the next person could walk up right behind him and start at that same stage that they and get even more of a warp bonus than the next game.
Level has to be like ridiculously hard for them to start on, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like military.
And they have to finish the level too.
Yes.
Right.
They have to finish the level.
You select the start to a certain point, but if you continue, you can actually select to start even higher.
Yeah.
Yes.
You get more of a bonus.
Yep. Like Tempest.
So we try and limit. Yes, Tempest has also has a selectable start. Road Blasters has 2 selectables, at least 2 selectables. You can actually warp like I think 10 levels, and then after you do that for 5 levels, if you actually play the next 5 levels, you can warp a second time, even further. But you still have to clear the level in order to actually claim the points. I had the idea of putting Road Blasters in a tournament once, and I wasn't aware that I think it also had a known glitch, but I don't know the exact details of that glitch. But Steve Wagner said that it would not be a good idea to put Road Blasters in a tournament, saying that they had some problems with it.
I have to imagine, I mean, I'm sure it's happened dozens of times where, you know, you initially do it and then you get ridiculed later because people are saying like, oh, they let him do this game. And, you know, everybody knows that you can do that glitch and, you know, you can't call those legit scores. And then everybody's complaining about arcade or whatever, you know? I mean, does that happen? That's happened?
Well, knock on wood.
Right.
It's still working. I'm still, you know, there are games, like there are some games that, you know, we've always based the games based on the selection at ACAM and FunSpot. That's been our benchmark, and now at Grinkers we're introduced to games that are not at FunSpot and that are not at Galloping Ghost and they are not anywhere else. And you've got some exclusive games, and we're having to learn. It's like, well, is this a legitimate game, or is this or is there a glitch, or is there a continue feature, or is there a problem with this game that's going to keep us from putting this game in a tournament? With them having so many new games and still some more new games coming out, you know, I'm having to go over and research and see, okay, let me get the owner's manual, maybe find an online owner's manual, look it up and see, okay, can I do this to the game? Can I do that to the game? And sometimes I can't. And I say, well, it would have been nice, but I can't put it in a tournament.
Cool.
So that's all I got for that one.
Phooey.
Yeah, I think Mock really what it breaks down to is, you know, amongst a group of friends, you do whatever you want. It's not an issue. But once you involve this website that's hosting hundreds or thousands of scores and all these competitive people, I don't know. It's hard. You can't win, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes you can't win. And the whole point of the creation of the site in the first place was because, you know, back before this site existed, arcade tournaments were, you know, 400 scores were being submitted, and it was taking hours or even days to tabulate all the scores to find out who won the tournament. And it became a back-breaking process. So when Orcade for the first time, the number of scores that were submitted tripled as a result. And with online live leaderboards, it became far more competitive.
Yeah.
Because now you could declare a winner 30 minutes after the tournament ends.
Right.
You wouldn't have to spend hours and days trying to figure it out.
So I think I know the answer to this. I think I know the answer to this question, but Necros has asked a couple times, is point pressing allowed on games and tournaments? It's kind of a case-by-case thing, isn't it? Like if it specifically says no point pressing allowed, then you can't do it.
Point pressing is
like
a part of an arcade game. We try to include games where that's not going to be an issue. But point pressing is part of the game, you know, and for certain games, you know, what we try and avoid is marathoning a game, which is not the same as point pressing. We don't want marathonable games, which is the next segue.
That was my next question.
Which is the next segue. Is,
good job, Mock. You were anticipating.
Yeah. You read my mind.
We don't want to include games that are marathonable. We don't want anybody playing for hours on end, taking up all of the tournament time trying to play a specific game. This happened last year with Vanguard.
Oh, really? I didn't realize
that. Well, he did. He voluntarily decided to give up. As opposed to
it was Excite Bike 2 or 3 years ago.
Hector.
Yeah, Hector. Like he played for a couple hours and then he just kind of like got bored.
Walked off.
Yes.
Yeah.
That ought to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was standing right next to him. Did that, and so I don't think I had any. I don't think I had as much say that particular year.
Oh,
if I don't remember, but yeah, versus Excite Bike. Yeah, he obviously marathoned it, and it actually got to the point where, you know, you had to know with the symbols because eventually he got so good at it that
the score
numbers turn into letters and symbols, and you had to know. You had to just intuitively know that the heart symbol meant 13 and the pound symbol meant 14 or whatever. And if you didn't, then you're like, well, I have no idea how much he scored. Somewhere over 1 million, I know that. So yes, we try not to put marathonable games in the tournament, but as you can see, sometimes we don't know better.
Everybody's human, right?
And if it's a game that you could point press on it, it's probably something where the level has a timer, so you can't just sit there forever and point press something. You know, like when you want to end the level.
When I discovered point pressing in 1991 on my Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja game, you know, I was point pressing on that game, but even then, the game has a timer, and if the timer hits 0, you lose a life, as with most games. You know, but point pressing is, you know, in my opinion, point pressing is, I mean, it's going to be built into the game, and you know, people are going to point press. You know, there are some gamers that are really good at point pressing Circus Charlie. You know, they know exactly where to jump. They know exactly saying, okay, if you jump these two and then back up, then the bag of gold coins, which is only supposed to be collected once, shows up again, and you can collect it again, and then you can collect it again and again and again. And you know, that's as you said, a unique case of point pressing. But ultimately, I mean, if they spend 10 minutes point pressing on a game and it only takes about 10 minutes to play, I'm going to be fine with that because, you know, a lot of people still get a lot of games in. If it's a fast game, if it doesn't take very long to play, I am all for putting that game in a tournament. You know, there are certain games which I can't mention, even though they not be the tournaments in the past, and we've loved on them so much because we put them in a tournament each and every year because it takes less than 5 minutes to play the game.
Right.
Even if they do point press, they're done with the game in 5 minutes.
Interesting. Yeah, because that's got to be a pain when there's someone sitting on a machine for an hour or two, and you got like 50 other people wanting to play it in 2-day period.
And that happened at CAX. Do you remember that?
What game was it? Was it Razzmatazz?
It was Razzmatazz. It was the updated Carnival. It was the remake on Carnival. And it was Razzmatazz, and it was Robbie Lakeman. And he was marathoning the game.
That son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
He was marathoning the game, and what he did was that he was on the game for the remaining hour and a half in the tournament.
Oh man,
bastard!
So no one could even be able to have a shot at it.
Nobody could even post a score on it, which means that their tournament score would be 0.
Oh no!
Yeah, because you have to place at least one score on every game to get on the leaderboard.
So some people were sandbagging that game, and Robbie Lakeman denied them a chance to post a score on that particular game.
All right, Jimbo's back.
Sound effects.
I've been on for a while, but I have to be very selective.
Yeah,
talking serious business.
I mean, Clint, I recall stories, and I may have heard some of it from you. I don't know any names, but that happened at Fun Spot before, where someone would wait to place their score on one particular game until right before the tournament was over, and then
that is called sandbagging.
Yeah,
that is a common underhanded tactic, and there's nothing we can do to prevent or stop that. But that is a tactic that some of the top pros like to do. To show that to divert attention away from themselves as a top competitor.
And the story I recall, again, I don't know any names or anything, but there was a person who did that one year, and I think the following year, some people were keen to that. So, like the hour before the tournament was over, there was like 4 or 5 people standing in line behind that game waiting to play it, and that sandbagger was not able to play that game as a result. So they got their comeuppance, right?
Apparently, there is a strategy even in outside the tournament. I do not encourage nor do I condone sandbagging.
Yeah,
you follow them back to their hotel room and you beat them up, tie them up, and leave them behind the building
with a sandbag.
With a sandbag on their head.
Or a
you can.
I sandbagged you this year, buddy. Take that, you
sandbagged.
There was one particular gamer.
Teabag, I do so much.
That's the upgrade from getting teabagged.
I'm sorry, Clint. We're getting to that point of the night.
Yeah, I get it. There was a particular.
So there was a particular what?
I sandbagged.
There was a particular gamer at a Fun Spot who was upset because he was trying to play a game and the people behind him were jiggling their coins of tokens because they were impatiently waiting, and it was distracting him from his game. Everybody shaking their coins in close to his ear.
And like hypersensitive to sounds, right?
Yeah. Whatever. Get yourself a pair of headphones and listen to music.
People are on the spectrum in this hobby, so
yes,
they can't help themselves.
That's for sure. Yeah.
I like Caitlin once told me, he goes, "Yeah, everyone's a little weird." I didn't know what he meant at first, but now I do.
I love the weirdness. I love the weirdness.
Yeah.
It makes 2 years
they wear like unicorn masks and Devo hats and stuff. There's some weird people out there.
That's normal.
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with this hobby?
I know I brought this up before. A couple years at Grakers, there was that guy who was a very tall guy. He was bigger. He was like at least 6'4", 6'5", and he had red wine teeth. And he was very strange and a little creepy, but he was kind of funny. He kept showing me like pictures of his like naked girlfriends on his phone. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No idea.
No,
Oh,
but
God.
he's got to have a nickname now.
Oh God, he was a character. I'm like, he's like, yeah, this is my girl. Like he'd show me like, oh, you want to see? And I'm like, not really. This is at Greekers at the bar, and he had red.
You want to see her in a gangbang? Look at this. Watch this.
Oh, yeah. He was one of those guys.
Wait,
Ron Jeremy.
It's like, dude, you're fucking weird.
Go see some chicks doing a goat in the back. Or his skit about the internet. Ron Jeremy's
that joke is bad.
So Jimbo, I don't know if you have any questions or not, but everybody was kind of taking turns asking. Nope,
it was all answered.
Yep.
I got nothing.
Thanks, Tim. We talked about you while you were gone.
Oh, good. Yeah. Use all those obscenities when I'm not here.
No, that he actually mentioned the longest time he's actually had to monitor a high score entry was you.
And that was after a full day of Greekers, and I remember looking at that guy. That's when I got in the ice cream.
Guy.
I'm like, that sucks for Clint.
And it was like 2 hour long games twice or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I felt bad because I was like, oh man, I'm going to disappoint again because
that was after Brofest and after CAX.
It was just CAX that he monitored. He didn't monitor Brofest because it was in the cabin. Remember, we couldn't do it.
That's right.
All right, that's right.
But I was like, oh shit! I had one life left at like 15 million, and I had to get 23 or over 23 to get the record.
To get that 8 more million, that's like another 45 minutes or an hour or something.
Let's see. It's about, I want to say 5 to 10 minutes. I don't remember. I used to know it exactly, but it's about 5 to 10 minutes to get a million after you roll it once.
So you didn't want to risk, wasting.
So yeah, it would be like another hour.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh shit, and somehow it worked out. But yeah, those games that roll the score like that, though, that's
Yeah. No, well, that's the thing too with those for being tournament games. If there's a player, I mean,
that's another element.
Who monitors your rolling the score? That would normally be like one they probably couldn't do in the tournament, but they have done it in the past. A few years ago, Eyes was in, right?
Yes. But there was no threat.
Right? Yeah, no one was rolling the score.
Yeah.
Although Kalen at that point, I think he had before, but he couldn't. It had been a long time ago or something. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think he got like 700,000 or something at that during then. That was in my infancy.
Which segues into my next reason for vetoing games.
All right.
I love it. This game doesn't hold enough digits.
Yeah.
Where you don't have we're all good gamers here. We're all capable of achieving stratospheric high scores, but sometimes certain games just don't have enough digits. They can't hold enough digits to hold the score. And one game that I will call out immediately is Missile Command. That game only holds 6 digits, and people have gotten in the tens of millions of points in that, and that's way too much time for a referee to sit for nearly days on end
without alcohol.
Oh well, maybe for you. I'm used to it. I'm conditioned. I'm dry conditioned.
There you go.
Well, there's a joke in there somewhere.
Going in dry.
No.
Like the pillow.
Poor Clint. sorry for the cream.
I love how we're all stifling ourselves.
Yes.
Right, I know.
It just took me to push everyone over the
Stay on
edge.
topic.
We managed to managed to be pretty good for like a little over an hour. Right?
Yeah. Carrie, you got a spindle on that chair behind you, broken. Fucking move it. It's bugging me.
What's bugging you?
No, is there like that chair? Is there one of those things broken, like the spindle?
No.
No,
it's
that's
just the angle you're looking at.
Oh,
Dave's
probably just
got
the
the
angle.
spins.
It's the angle of the dangle. Sorry.
Yeah, it looks like it's
Sorry.
broken.
No, they're all fine. They all have crap on them. And I finally have a monitor behind me again because remember for the longest time whenever I'd broadcast I'd have a monitor behind me and then I had like all my monitors worked on and everything's beautiful and then I'm like, oh, it's just
Here's
so
one that
empty.
Jim hasn't helped me with.
Hey, I've done a lot.
I know.
Well, mostly your job was lifting things in and out of the cabinet. 'Cause I am quick to say that. Other than I got really good at
I'm
taking
on the
that pole.
Brood Squad.
Yeah, I got really good at taking the pole position monitor in and out. But
Princess Bride.
Oh, you are the Brute Squad, yes. Okay.
But I already fight against the stereotype that that you and other guys do all my work for me. So you got to work with me here, and
I know.
like not trying to like play into that stereotype. I actually do most of my own work. I occasionally do get help on things, but like seriously, you guys don't have someone going, oh gosh, so who does your work for you? Like.
I'm ready to send
Actually,
you
that's
my
not true.
monitor. You can fix them. I don't care. Like I have no shame.
I do run across people in pickups and Craigslist and stuff like that where it's like, oh, so who does that work for you? Like that must be, So
yeah, you kind of get that, but it's a little different than like people on Clav who, when you meet other collectors, they don't assume that you need someone to do your work for you, and that's the basic assumption I get whenever I meet almost anybody who doesn't already know me.
Who does your decorating? No.
I know she's a chick with a monitor on her TV table. That's not normal.
That's how she watches TV in the evenings.
Yeah.
Sits down for dinner.
I know. Now with the touch screen.
Well, Stephen Colbert on the touch screen.
I can do that. I can touch Stephen Colbert and have him light up in different spots.
Ooh. I haven't played that game. Is that tournament okay, Clint?
Yeah.
Colbert touch.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
That's all right. So we were at the next segue. We segued but we'll segue back in to the not enough digits. Is that where we were?
Stay on target.
Stay on topic.
I want to. Does anyone have that YouTube clip with the guy with the big gulp? Stay on target.
Cover me, Porkins.
I fucking love that.
The Family Guy one of that is hilarious. He's bigger than a space.
Doesn't even fit in this cockpit. Terrible. He's just pouring off the sides.
I'm gonna post that in IRC. All right, go, Clint. I'm gonna mute myself. Fuck this.
Well, Clint, a couple I know that are always difficult, but we've had them in the past, and it seems like still try to do them. There's games that the score disappears pretty fast. Like if someone doesn't take a picture of your score right when you're finishing, it just kind of like vanishes. Right? There's a few games like that,
and that's much harder to pick up on unless you're aware of it firsthand.
Yeah,
is that certain games.
I want to say like
the score
Seawolf or one of those is like that. One of those older black and white.
The original Seawolf. The Seawolf. Unless you break the high score on that game, you have about 10 seconds to get that score, to jot that score down before it disappears.
Yeah. Most people would just snap a picture with their cell phone and
And normally we don't allow pictures of scores, but I always say we don't allow it, and yet year in year out we always have an issue where a score disappears, or Joust is another example.
Oh, really?
Where when the score when it goes back into attract mode, the score resets and it starts keeping store of the demo play in attract mode, and you lose the game score. You lose the game high score when you do that. So that's upsetting to keep up with, but it's never. We try not to, we try our best not to include games that where the score goes away, where the score disappears. There's another game in particular that the score doesn't go away, but the attract loop is so damn long. I mean, if you don't catch that score during a 15-second, you have 15 seconds to look at the score, and if you don't see that score, then you might as well go have
that at Fun Spot?
Go have a beer.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I want to say there was a game at Fun Spot that did. It was like you were just ready to stick. Because I I was taking scores a lot there, and it was like you just want to stab yourself in the eye, like get out of my way. Yes. You could take 3 other scores while waiting for that thing to come back up. It was awful.
If you miss that score, you might as well just go down the stairs to the bar and have a beer, or go to the bathroom or something, because it's going to be 5 minutes, and I'm not making this up. 5 minutes before that attract loop comes back around to the demo, where you can have another 15 seconds to look at the score again.
Yeah, because when the game was created, that was not a thought. It was like, this person's going to track their high score.
Yeah, right. And it's the name of the game is Konami's Life Force. There's a couple of other games that also have long attract loops, but they're not nearly as bad. I think Timber is one of them. Timber and Tapper. Pico has been guilty of this, although I think their attract loop is only about 45 seconds.
One game I recall, and it's a game I love, Zookeeper. There's something about that one, like when you're playing the game, you can roll the score, and so you might not know what your score is when it ends, but then as soon as you see the scoreboard, like for the high score for the day or all time or whatever, it'll show that extra digit.
Or digits plural.
Yes. Yeah.
I seem to recall that during gameplay it only shows 6 digits, but when you actually have game over and you see the official scoreboard, then it will actually show 7 or maybe even 8.
Right.
8 digits.
Yeah.
Get those digits.
Depending on. Yeah. But yes.
That was lost.
Sometimes it can be hard to catch. I think it wasn't too long ago somebody was saying that they advertised that they got 1 million points on Zookeeper. Who was that?
You got 50,000 on Double Dragon?
1 million point jump? Is that what you're saying?
No, somebody got 1 million points just in a single jump on Zookeeper.
Right. Yeah.
Sounds like
that was Kalen.
Yeah, I think so. Craziness.
Yeah. Oh, it's been that way all evening.
We're trying to be polite.
Yeah.
I do that to parties.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys having a good time? Joke's on you.
I like going and doing the dishes during parties because then I have something to do where I feel useful. And then if people come over and talk to you, then it's great, but you have something else that you're doing. It's like, okay, I'm not standing here awkwardly having conversation. I'm doing dishes and I'm helping.
And then you're the one that gets angry when people stereotype you. Oh, she's in the kitchen where she belongs. Hey, now.
I don't know of anybody who's ever stereotyped me like that.
Carrie again.
Well, the response to that.
I don't mind being. I don't mind being the one stereotypes responsible, which is why I like pitching in and helping take the scores. Like it's great because you get a chance to interact with a lot of people, and it's interesting to me to see how different people react to, they might be putting up a score that they're proud of or they're not so keen on or whatever, and it's just like you see a lot of people's personality in the competitive environment during that, what's about a 30-second interaction with them.
Yeah, could not agree more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting little slice of. You might not be able to share. I was going to say, do you have any stories of people who have reacted particularly strongly during the competitive environment that you could share?
Without naming names?
Without naming names, yeah.
You can just write them in a chat.
Yeah. And we'll announce them next week.
Yeah.
I'm not mentioning anybody in particular, but there was this sweet lady, this young sweet lady at a Fun Spot tournament, and I'm going to pull a Southern note. Bless her heart. She played Donkey Kong Remix and did not score a single point in that game.
I recall that. Yes.
And I recorded that score.
And that's your official lowest score.
That's my official lowest score ever, was a 0. and not 30 minutes later, some of the other gamers started coming up to me, apparently as because they didn't want to sandbagging to be an issue, so they wanted to pretend that they played a certain game and got a 0. They wanted to record a 0, wow. And I had to say, no, sorry. I actually have had gamers that have took the time to put a token in the machine and score 0 points the hard way.
Yeah.
I can't give you a free pass.
She's a genuine 0 in my book.
Yeah. It can be the hard way.
Although I got, I think, 1,000 points on that. I remember, I didn't even get above the first platform or something. I remember telling Andrew that. I'm like, fuck Donkey Kong.
Oh, that what you were trying to remix, and that was your score?
I think so. Yeah, that was at the Brofest.
Yeah,
that was the remix.
Yeah.
Oh, that was.
God damn! What other games? Because there's so many games in that tournament. And I'm like, I still have 5, and I'm like, I'll do this because I'm not going to survive very long. Couldn't even get halfway up, barely up the level.
Yeah, that's such a hard game.
John Jacobson's documented first time playing Donkey Kong Remix. He only scored 100 points on the game. His very first time touching.
And he's a pretty decent Donkey Kong player, so that's
yeah.
I mean, he can get over 100,000. Not too difficult on regular Donkey Kong.
Now he can probably get up over 100,000 on Remix. But his very first time looking at this board, cold turkey, never seen it, never played it before, and he got 100 points.
Yeah, and I appreciate his willingness to post that stuff. We've talked about this before. The fact that he'll put up, he'll do that. He'll sorry, my daughter thought I was talking to her for a minute. That he'll show him playing games very poorly or fucking up repair. It both makes it fun and him more, approachable, and makes us all feel, I think, a little better about ourselves, especially those of us who really suck at the games but love them anyway, even if they don't love us back.
Brown paint.
Brown paint?
Brown paint.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Brown. Oh, no.
Or blowing up the resistor on the monitor because you put it in backwards.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whoops.
What game was that?
I don't know.
Oh.
Johnny's Greatest Hits.
Yeah, right. There's a few. Well, there's a few that you could be like, oh, Tempest. It's because he worked on it for so long and it got fucked up so bad. It was too long ago for it to be Mortal Kombat, but we're in part 14 or something of that. Repair, right?
Yes.
I did catch his last video, and he was saying that I wasn't expecting Mortal Kombat 2 to be so much harder than Street Fighter. I'm like, anyone could have told you that. The brutal compared to what he had. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I laughed at that too.
So, Clint, do you have like one of those Fitbits or anything like that? Like that meters how many steps you take? Let's say you should get that for Grinkers this year.
Segue.
Yeah, I should. Actually, a couple of years ago, I did own a fitness watch. It wasn't a Fitbit; it was a completely different company. And it was a fitness tracker with a touchscreen and a heart rate monitor and the whole bit. But it developed a bad skin rash on my wrist when I wore it, and this, as it turns out, I got an email from the company that said, "Oh yeah, we've got an issue with our watches."
Whoops.
We've noticed that we're trying to come up with a fix for this, and a month later, they said, "Sorry, we can't come up with a fix for this. We need to recall the watches, and we'll refund your money." So I had to send the watch back. I'm going to keep that classified. I sent the watch back. And hey, now
that was unnecessary.
Yeah. I sent the watch. So to your point, I have not worn a fitness watch since then.
Right.
So no, I do not own.
Well,
do not own.
Used
to, but not anymore.
But I know it had to have been a challenge the last couple of years because they've expanded into those different sides. Now it's even more so.
Oh yeah.
Like, how can you can't even see people? You got to constantly be walking back and forth to like look for a hand sticking up over a machine.
It is more so, but credit to Steve. Lots of credit to Steve here. He was up to the challenge last year, and I expect him to be up for it again this year. He gave me a lot of extra help. To cover this area, and it was amazing that he had scheduled workers. They had tablets. They were shadowing me. They were covering a much wider area than I could, and it gave me the opportunity to step away from the tournament and register new players without bottlenecking the entire process.
Yeah,
and I have Steve to thank for that, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Ding.
All right, I got to take a restroom break. I'll be back.
Ding.
It's like Apollo Creed at the end of Rocky. Ding,
ding, ding,
ding, ding.
Boy, you move pretty good for an older guy. Yeah.
You move pretty good for an old guy.
Nice.
So anybody else have any other questions?
Goes to the back.
Yeah. He's only allowed one per show, so
now it's just 3 of us.
Better plan on holding it after this.
Let's see if I have any other questions.
So can I do a Bob Ross impression? Boy, am I glad you asked. Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Hi. Certainly glad you could join.
Right, but it's the painting portion, so we can't actually see the Bob Ross imitation.
While they run all those colors across the screen, let me show you what I've got set up here right now. I've got my
I'm going to take my
stretched 18 by 24. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to have a happy little flame right over here next to the building. Maybe he's got a little fire escape right over here.
We're going to take a little Prussian blue, mix that with a little lizard crimson. Ooh, I like that.
We're dueling impressions.
That's nice.
That's nice. Yeah, I like that.
It's very soothing.
And all I'm going to do.
This is the soothing show.
Yeah. And I'll take my tablet.
I don't have any Bob Ross sound bites.
Yeah. So then we're going to brush. We're going to just go. brush past these gamers right over here. Maybe he's got a little friend right in there. There we go.
Pretty good.
And then he would,
Right?
and then he would do his, and then he would do his signature dipping the paint in water and slapping it up against the side. And he would say, "Oh, I always get a kick out of doing that."
And just beat the devil out of it.
Yeah.
The camera guys hate me for that.
Beat the paint first. Oh boy.
It's a sadder place with him gone.
Yeah, Bob Ross does arcade games.
He died a long time
And I
ago.
want,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he's,
and I
he's
do
still
want,
lives
I
on
want
in-
95.
Yeah, he's still alive in memes, though.
I do want to apologize to the folks in the chat. I'm not able to see what's going on in the chat, in the IRC chat.
Well, in that
as a
case,
result
I need to
of
make
me
a few
using
comments here. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm trying to see, if they have any questions, but they haven't asked that many.
Here's
Well-
a question. Bacon Flavor says, Clint, are you ever sad that you don't get to play?
I didn't see that one.
I missed it.
Oh, there.
Your voice.
Are
cut out there.
are you ever sad that you don't get to play the games, presumably?
Well, I do get to play the games, but I get to play test the games before the tournament,
Oh yeah.
and just to make sure that A, they're working right, and B, they're on the settings that I'm desiring.
AKA the
Them
most
to be
difficult settings possible.
Right, kick ass.
Like
mean-
Super Pac-Man.
Yeah, like
Nope.
kick your ass, not like,
Yeah,
oh, this is kick ass, but like, oh my god, this kicked my ass.
R12, the default is around R4 or R5, and I have it set on R12
Nice.
on Super Pac-Man.
Put Arkanoid on like the very hardest difficulty. Games will last about 30 seconds or less.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I got a lot of flack from the gaming community when Time Pilot was put in the tournament with maximum difficulty, and they
That was
go, "What
awesome.
have you
Yes.
done for the game?"
Right? People were fucking pissed.
Yeah, Slick Nick
That's funny.
rocked that, though. He was really good at it.
They were
Really?
upset at Time Pilot.
I think he got
I
number
I
one.
recall
but-
you did the same with Super Pac-Man and Tutankhamun.
Oh, yeah, it was ridiculous.
Oh,
Yeah, didn't you just call it tournament settings, like as difficult as it
Yeah.
could be, or something?
I remember watching Clint change the settings on Super Pac and walk away from it going,
Yeah.
yeah.
There was no predetermined settings for Super Pac-Man, so I had to come up with my own. And yes, that's exactly what I did. Now, Carrie was asking. Carrie was asking if there was after the tournament is over, and this is one of my more favorite parts, is after the tournament is over, and sometimes I will post or I will put on some what I call spoiler scores. And my most famous spoiler score that I've ever done was at the first Grinkfest, which is Grinkfest 1. It wasn't even called Grinkfest 1 at the time.
Right.
And after the tournament was over, one of the games that was in the tournament was Stern's new Star Trek pinball machine. And Steve, our beloved host Steve, posted the top score on that game. And after the tournament was over, I went on and I beat his score by a substantial margin. Just to say, hey, I can play too. And
Take that, you.
face in your face.
I remember one year you did that on the pit. You played after the tournament was over. You were playing the pit, and your score was probably like double what anybody else could get on it.
Wow.
It wasn't double because, but I think both Kalen and what's his name? He was the overall winner.
Matt Hall.
Matt. Both of them saw me surpass their scores by about 25,000 points.
Okay.
Wow.
Which, I I had about 115,000.
And then
I think my top score was around 115, 118,000 on the pit, and yeah, so that would have been enough for first place, beating both of them.
Wow! And then you wrestled them both to the ground and grabbed the belt and ran out the doors. I'm sure.
Right.
Pants fell off.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Laughing.
Meanwhile, I can't hold a candle. To the Vanguard score that Matt did.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Matt
was Vanguard.
Dave Elope has a question. He's been posting a few times. Apparently, at one of the events, I think it was last year, he posted a score that you put down, on your pad, and then you hit OK or the checkbox OK, and then later he noticed the score wasn't there. It never got posted. What can cause that? That error.
I seem to recall the third. I think it was not this past one, the fourth Grinkfest, which is a Grinkfest that that I'd almost be willing to forget. That was most taxing for me.
Yeah, I bet.
Many of us have, but only because of the drinking.
Yeah. The fourth one in particular was the server. The Orcade server was acting very glitchy.
Oh, yes.
And I believe that's where Dave in the chat is referring to. So I was struggling to post scores, and the site was not cooperating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said, it was Greenfest 4 in the chat.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was a nightmare trying to get the scores submitted, and also get the scores to stick. And right after the tournament ended, I didn't get an opportunity to say time. I didn't even get a chance to yell time, hands off the machines, because I was busy trying to put out this proverbial fire of the site crashing, or the site trying to crash. I finally got the scores up, and I finally went back over and I looked over each and every place with a fine-tooth comb, and I found lots of scores missing. I said, okay, this is not right, so here's the scores, and we post that back up. And when I finally got it all squared away, it was about an hour after the tournament ended.
Yeah,
I was finally able to.
Right, yeah. There's only so much you can do. You can't control every situation,
Yes.
Just do the best with what you have.
All of you guys were doing a very good job of entertaining the crowd in the meantime.
I remember that.
What happened in the meantime? I don't remember.
You don't remember the strippers?
No, I missed that.
You really were drunk, Monk.
Yeah.
I think Johnny was in somewhat rare form that night.
That time.
Yeah. Well,
You might have gotten a talking to.
First year
Was
with
that the time he said "fuck" every second?
Yeah.
on the big loudspeaker.
Yes, that was the first year having a mic, like a whatever. So everybody.
Looks like this guy fucks. Is that down here?
Yeah.
Probably
And-
you had a mic.
Clint, Dave Elope thanks you. Says, "Oh, good. Glad it wasn't anything that he did. It's all good. Thanks for the explanation." So many thanks.
Yeah, and David Hernley did find the source of the problem and has fixed it, and has assured me that it would not happen again. And it did not happen at last year's Springfest. Partially because, once again, credit to Steve, he upgraded his Wi-Fi.
Yep, no help.
Yeah, probably specifically for Grinkfest because he's awesome.
Right.
So all you people asking for the Wi-Fi password, the answer is no.
Right.
We need that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For our live stream.
Yeah, FunSpot had a similar issue with their Wi-Fi was total trash for several years.
Yeah, you had to have a hotspot to do it. I remember that.
I had to have a mobile hotspot, and credit to John's friend.
Yes,
who lives in Chicago.
Greg, yeah.
Greg Hansen from Arcade Impossible.
Yep.
And he was able to come through in the clutch and help me out tremendously with that. Still been meaning to thank him for that. I think I have thanked him a few times. I forget.
And we actually had a almost identical problem at CAX at the prototype, and that was Ryerson, I think, had the hotspot that time.
Yeah, a couple of years ago when we did.
Because there's no Wi-Fi unless you. It's like $100 or something.
Fucking black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pisses me off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I seem to remember that a little bit at CAX. I was too focused on the games.
Right.
Because there was some particular games I had never seen before, never had been in a tournament before, and there's even one homemade game that was in the tournament, and I set it at maximum difficulty, and several people still managed to get the highest possible score that you could get on that game.
Yeah,
and it made for an interesting. It started taking up extra space, saying, "Why do I have 4 or 5 marquees of the same game on here?" Well, that's because 4 or 5 people got the maximum score. There's a tie for the top score.
Well, what do you guys think?
I think this has been a very tame show.
Yes.
I don't think anybody's drinking tonight.
Yeah, I'm not drinking tonight myself.
Oh, Andrew is.
I'll be back on the drink
I
next
got some.
I got some.
So I guess this means I won't be back next week, huh?
You were welcome. You are always welcome back.
I just can't to behave.
Right, exactly. Like, no promises there that will be like.
So what we talked about doing. So I guess so other people know how this works maybe too, but this is how we did it last year. Selecting the games was that I wanted to try to make it as universal and a group effort as possible. So there was a select group that emailed their selections. And then I put together a spreadsheet with all those selections. And then whichever one had the most votes were going to be for sure shoe in for the tournament. And then the ones that were kind of below a certain level, to try to streamline it, Andrew, myself, Steve, and Clint just kind of went through those taking turns. Like, okay, from this list that only got 2 votes, Clint, you pick 2 of them. Andrew, you pick 2 of them, and I'll pick 2 of them, and that just to try to make it move faster because we could get drawn out for weeks. So that's what we did last year, and I think everybody was pretty happy with it. Everybody liked the games that were in, so that's kind of what we did this year, and we just finalized that this afternoon. So you guys here, I'll send you a copy of that in an email. And then what we were talking about doing maybe this year, I suggested it was on Tuesday night before Grinkfest, a whole 2 days in advance that we talk about the games that are going to be.
That'd be fun.
That's just groundbreaking.
Basically, just the listeners of our show are going to hear it on Tuesday night, and then Thursday, which is what would normally be done, the list goes out on the KLV thread, and whoever's at Grinkers will know at that point. So
I hope YouTube can handle like us bumping all the way up to like 4 or 5 viewers.
Right?
Yeah.
And probably like 2 of those are actually going. So yeah.
10.
Right.
We might hit 10. Actually, we've got 15 right now.
Including all of us. No.
But yeah.
Do any of you guys actually go to the YouTube anymore?
Just for
I
the
did.
I check everyone's channel, yeah. There's a couple people that don't go on the IRC. They just do the YouTube only, I think.
Yeah.
Steve Wallard being one of them, I think.
Dominic, a few.
Oh, yeah.
I watched the feed.
All right.
So, so yeah, I think, you know what, we're just a little over 3 weeks away, man. We're getting down to the wire.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Yeah, juggling lots of stuff, and I try my best, and so does Andrew. We all do. So if anything gets messed up or mistaken, I'm sorry. You know, we do our best. So
is Steve going to get this stuff early to pack the bags? So it's not to do it last second.
I'm pushing as hard as possible to get all that to them basically by next Friday. So 10 days from now.
10.
Yeah. One of the hardest things being the shirts. We'll see.
Oh.
Yeah. But
maybe everything else could get put together.
Yeah,
for that.
That's entirely possible. Yeah. But, you know, every year before, it's always like the day before or 2 days before Grinkfest starts. And this is going to be about 10 days in advance, hopefully. So, yeah. So they should be able to get 2 separate weekends to work on it. Because I know, you know, Steve's wife, Lori, she had a crew of people, and they took them all day.
Yeah.
Last year, you know, like 4, 5, 6 people for hours, just sorting through 150 bags, and you know.
Remember that a couple of years ago when you and I were doing it in the back room?
Yeah, that was crazy too. Yeah,
it was just.
I'm like, hey, hey, John, hey, Sean, hey, Joe, I'm back here. You know, feel free to come help me out. Oh yeah. Okay.
We'll be over there.
I'll bring you
right after that next year.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's all good. It's, you know, it's all meant to be fun and good times, guys. So,
and
all right.
Can you talk about before we leave the VIP stuff? Is that ready to go? Can we talk about that a little bit?
We're actually up to 135 pre-registers right now, which Steve does not have, or sorry, Clint does not have that list yet. And about 25-ish or so are, you know, locals, family, Grinker staff, you know. So we have certainly over 100 people that are, I think, all from out of town traveling there for the event. So, so yeah, about 135 on the pre-register list, and I think about 80 did the VIP. So that's awesome. It really helps fund all this little extra bonus stuff we do. And so yeah.
And some bartenders that come out of retirement just for this event.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you mentioned that.
Steve hopes not.
Yeah. More on that later.
And I did, you know, so I'll mention too, you know, Keith's not with us here tonight, but, you know, it's both you, Steve, and Keith. Those trophies look freaking awesome, man. So
thanks.
Everybody loves that, you know, and I think that's just that's one of the biggest things that made this legit, you know, like custom made trophies, right? Yeah, so
especially the first place ones that light up are really cool.
Yeah, that's badass. Yep.
I think they look really cool.
So I've seen the pictures. I think it's basically all done, right? As of last couple of days, Keith wrapped them up.
Trophies are done. Yeah.
Yep.
All the trophies are finished. He just has to get them to me, so I can deliver them. But yeah.
Okay.
So how about the glasses? Are those finished?
So yeah, I saw your.
We might want to talk about those offline, huh?
Is that an offline conversation?
I think it's probably an offline conversation. I do. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Act's got to go.
Yep. I mean, maybe there's more to the conversation that I don't know about. I'll wait.
All right.
Cool. So Steve, take us out of here.
Yes.
Shit.
Actually, yeah, Gaka, do you have your little mirror to look through, like in Romper Room, and say who is?
Oh,
see here today.
Thanks everyone for coming on, hanging out with us tonight. I don't know, a lot of the usuals.
Oh yeah,
What else
Dave
did I say?
Alope, Necros, Seabart. Well, Seabart's here. We got let's see, who else? 8-Bit Pit. Got gosh, who else do we have? Crush Arcade. We had some new people. The Crush Arcade. I haven't seen him. Firefox.
Yeah.
Bacon Flavor was one. Zed. Zed hasn't been in here in a long time. We went to Grinkers last year, I believe. Let's see, who else? You guys think of anybody else?
Welcome, new people.
I think that's it. Jack Lick.
And Clint, thanks for joining us tonight.
Clint,
too.
yes, thank you for hanging out.
It's huge.
And all the
Thank
crazy
you so
stuff
much.
you do every year, taking all the scores and stuff. So
Thanks for putting up with our shenanigans.
Yep.
I tried to limit my
Thanks a
sound.
lot for having me on the show.
One every 30 seconds.
Yeah. We were extra special tonight. Thank you. For
We were
joining us.
extra mellow.
Yeah. We did
No
our
guarantees next time.
I kept it as PG as we could.
Yeah, thank you, children, for being well behaved.
You're welcome, Daddy.
Right in a children.
I was fashionably late on purpose. No.
Yeah.
You didn't even come in farting.
And I really wanted to. That's my favorite. Last week I was playing Simon with those sounds.
That's right.
do 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 do. Yeah.
And when you only got 3 crotch shots from Dave.
Yeah.
That's true. It was a very
tally.
low hot shot count.
Ooh. And then he sneaks out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you didn't even
say
get to see any of the
goodbye.
crotch shots, huh, Jimbo?
Oh, damn it. Gak should be taking a screen grab of that with a beer holding up when Dave crotch shots.
Yeah, right. Next week I'm
Do you
back
have
on the
a
beer.
beer that would match that? You know, like
Yeah.
crotch grabber or something. I don't know what.
Oh, I'm sure there's a craft beer named that by now.
Right, yeah. You name it, it's been
There
done.
will be. Yeah.
There's a belching beaver.
Well, yeah. There's one every 10 seconds. Just kidding.
All right, Chris.
All right. Take us out.
All right. Thanks, guys. And we'll see you next week.
Hot stuff.
All right.
Bye, y'all.